Good morning. Today we have Stephanie Leach with us, and she is our juicing expert extraordinaire. How are you today?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me. I've got my green juice here, and I'm ready to talk about juice and how we can get more joy.
I love that. Yay. So, not everybody is familiar with who you are. I would love for you to just start off with a little bit about you and your story and how you got to juicing.
Sure. Thank you. Well, my name is Stephanie Leach, and I'm a certified health coach and certified juice therapist. But back in my early or late 30s, early 40s, I had a really high stress sales job, and I wasn't making my health a priority. And so like a lot of people, I found myself living a life that I really didn't love. And in 2008, during the great recession, when people were losing their jobs by the thousands, it seemed every night on the news, I actually turned in my notice and resigned from mine. And it was a very difficult decision, but it was the right one in the end. So I had always been interested in nutrition, so I started learning about it and earned my health coaching certification and started experimenting with different ways of eating and really reading the research. And when I learned that 80% of chronic disease is preventable with diet and lifestyle changes, my mind was just blown. I mean, all of that heart disease and almost, like 80% of heart disease is preventable. Almost all type 2 diabetes, many forms of cancer. I thought this was all, diseases and problems that we just ended up getting as we grew older, and it wasn't fair, but that's just the way it was. I knew diet had a little bit to do with it, but I didn't realize how much control and influence we really do have over our health and ultimately our happiness. So I found that really interesting, and I really enjoyed helping people, transform their health by making over their eating habits and incorporating more fruits and vegetables and plants into their diet. And juicing was something I'd always done off and on. Of course, in my early 20s, I did it, but I still had the pizza burger lifestyle. So I didn't see the results that I could get once I cleaned up other parts of my diet. And in my early 40s, I had a few pounds that I was having trouble getting rid of, and I don't like dieting. I don't know that anybody does. I like to eat. I don't like to feel hungry. And I found that juicing in an intentional way was a really effective, easy, and delicious way to lose the extra weight healthfully and keep it off. And so, daily juicing and quarterly juice fasts or juice and raw food cleanses is now part of my lifestyle. And that's what allows me to stay healthy.
I love that. I know that you and I talked about my experience privately, but I did a juice cleanse for 4 weeks straight. And it was interesting. Once I got over the mental barrier of eating, then I actually had so many more nutrients in my body than what I normally ate, because it wasn't real food. It's just food-like substances. So, it does make a huge difference. So I know that one of the main things that I hear from clients is it's so messy. It's so hard to clean up after juicing. Personally, I don't find that to be an issue for me, but what would you say to those people?
We all have to prepare our meals in some way. We're either, if we're eating healthfully, we're usually preparing meals in some way. We're cooking, chopping, roasting, using a blender. There's always some form of cleanup and preparation around eating healthfully. And so my suggestion would be just to embrace that and turn on some fun music, try to make it fun, connect your juicing session with something else that has to be done. For me personally, I juice right before I cook dinner because I'm going to cook dinner. So if I wait and try to juice later, sometimes it doesn't happen. But if I juice beforehand and then get that cleaned up, then it gets done. And then of course you can, when you bring your fruits and vegetables home on shopping day, there's a lot of prep work that can be done ahead of time. You can wash and prep certain fruits and vegetables. and put those together in containers or bags that are ready to go, so that when you're ready to juice, you just pull it out. There's very little chopping, and then you can make your juice. And you know, the cleanup is usually just a scrub brush and some warm water, and it really only takes about 10 minutes maybe. So it's just making it part of your lifestyle, I think, is the challenge.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think that whenever you introduce a new habit or anything new, there's resistance. I don't care if it's good for you, if you, even if you really want to do it, there's always going to be resistance. So, you know, I love that you make it. Why not? Why not make it fun? You really do have to change your perspective on things sometimes when it comes to health, because if I could tell, like for me, this is what's interesting is caffeine. Me and caffeine, we don't go together. I like it. It doesn't like me. It makes me jittery. I mean, it's just, it doesn't give me that energy or that pick me up that I'm looking for, but
Mhm.
juicing does. Juicing
Yeah.
makes me so energetic, and it's actually good for me. So I saw somewhere, I read somewhere a while ago about how juicing is kind of like a quick shot of nutrients straight into the bloodstream. So what are your thoughts about that?
Yeah, you know, unlike caffeine, you know, a lot of us start our mornings with a really sugar-laden caffeinated drink, and that energizes you very quickly. For some people who are caffeine sensitive, sounds like you are, it just makes you jittery and it's not a pleasant experience. But for most people, it gets you up there pretty quick, but then it can drop you just as fast an hour or two later, depending on what you've had. Whereas with juice, you've got some energy in there. You've also got lots of phytonutrients and enzymes, and it's more hydrating than water. It's helping all of that. And yes, you're right, it's pre-digested. So it really, your body puts it to work within 15 or 20 minutes. So when you start your day with a green juice or, you know, any kind of juice that you prefer in the morning, it gives you some um, energy, but in a really calm, sustained way, without the caffeine and without the sugar. So yeah, that's an excellent way to start the day. I recommend that everyone start with a glass of juice on an empty stomach first thing in the morning.
What about water as well?
Water's good too. I always have like 16 ounces of warm lemon water. I put apple cider vinegar in there. Sometimes I add some turmeric essential oil and a little crack of, you know, fresh ground pepper and a little bit of raw agave syrup or maple syrup, just a tiny bit, just to kind of take the edge off the lemon and the apple cider vinegar. And I drink that while I'm getting ready in the morning. So that's also really good.
Yeah, no, definitely. So my question for you is, if somebody, hopefully there's a few people out there that want to at least start incorporating juicing into their daily life, how do you recommend maybe like the fruit versus vegetable ratio? Or, you know, my boyfriend used to be definitely afraid of green juices because he thought they would taste disgusting. And I know that that's a
Right.
lot of people's fear. He just tried it and he loved it, but what I mean, there's a mental block when you're looking at that juice. It does not necessarily, unless you're you or me, and we're like, woo, green juice.
Yeah, yeah, you know, that green color just really puts some people off. And if that's the case, start with the root juice. Do a carrot, beet, apple juice. You know, there's a lot of natural sweetness in carrots and beets and apple. And, you know, the glycemic load of cloudy apple juice, which is what you get out of your juicing machine, is about the same as eating a whole apple. So it's not the sugar bomb problem that a lot of people think that it could be. You know, fructose is very easily absorbed into your cells. It doesn't require insulin. And in fact, they did a study of over 2 million people, and they found that 100% fruit juice does not contribute to insulin resistance or type 2 diabetes. So if you're healthy and you don't have, you know, insulin resistance, you can consume 100% fruit juices if you want to. I recommend that you get some vegetables in there, because for most people, you know, fruit's easy, but they're not eating a lot of fruits and vegetables. And really, we should be eating about 10 servings a day to get all of the disease fighting protection, you know, lower rates of heart disease, type 2 diabetes, autoimmune conditions, cancer. If we want all that disease protection, then we should be consuming about 10 servings a day. That's about 1.75 pounds of fruits and vegetables. And I don't know anyone or many people that are doing that unless they're eating, a whole food plant-based diet with lots of vegetables. But you can get 2 pounds of produce into a juice glass and get all of that nutrition into your diet very easily and deliciously, and really feel the benefits very quickly.
I love that. It's interesting that you would say that too, because I thought I knew a lot about juicing, and thing that I didn't realize was the glycemic effect, that it doesn't really have the same effect because there's so much disinformation out there.
Mm-hmm.
How do people find, or where can people look to find good information that's accurate?
Well, if you look to someone that has had education in juicing and has really studied it and understands how your body processes juice, then you're going to get some better information than you might get from someone who's never studied it and has only just heard, the negative side. And I have to say, if you are diabetic, you do have to be careful how much fruit juice you consume. Your juices should be mostly vegetables with maybe a small amount of apple, initially, and then, watch your blood sugar levels. But for most people, it's not a problem. And, the higher glycemic index juices are going to be your tropical juices like pineapple, and those sorts of juices. So if you stick with apples and oranges and stone fruits and a lot of the other fruits, which can add a lot of flavor and different phytonutrients to your juice, that might have dark leafy greens and celery and cucumber, high water volume vegetables in there. The fruits can add, just 20% of fruit in your juice glass can add a lot of flavor and additional phytonutrients that you wouldn't normally be getting. So I drink a lot of 80-20 juice ratios, mostly vegetables, some fruit, because I like to eat fruit whole, as my snacks.
I'm with you on that one. So, what was I going to ask? So for somebody's just starting out, would you recommend that they try, because I know we pretty much touched on this already, but I know that when you're eating vegetables and you want to get like a whole range of color, sometimes that's not necessarily the most appealing looking thing. So I know that you have a bunch of recipes and things like that. So should people experiment, or do you think that they should just start out with, say, like your juicing book, for example?
Well, experimenting is fun, but it's nice to be able to start with some base recipes to understand the ratios, and then you know what to change out. Because when I first started juicing, if you put way too much, the whole kitchen sink, the whole produce drawer into a juice, sometimes you're not going to get the best tasting juice because the ratios are off. So for instance, for this green juice that I'm drinking today has 1 large cucumber, 2 large stalks of celery. So that's my base. Then it had 2 small Fuji apples, a very long leaf of kale, really long leaf of kale. And what else did I put in there? Oh, I put a kiwi in there. And so once you know how to build, a basic green juice or basic root juice, then you know how to switch out some of the ingredients to, start experimenting, because it can get boring drinking the same juice over and over again. So it's nice to have new recipes. You mentioned my book. I do have a book coming out in September, which I'm very excited about. It's called Complete Juicing, the Complete Juicing Recipe Book, 360 Easy Recipes for a Healthier Life. So it's going to have all of the basics that, someone new to juicing might need to know to juice effectively and safely, as well as 360 recipes for anyone that, is juiced on and off and could really, is looking for some new recipes. So the recipes in there are sectioned for brain health, heart health, boosting your immunity, detoxification and cleansing, lots of other health benefits, of course, to lower your risk of cancer. And I don't know if I mentioned inflammation already. A lot of people wake up just full of pain. And unless you've got a specific injury, it should not hurt to get out of bed. And some of my clients who've had a lot of inflammation find that within days of introducing, high anti-inflammatory juice recipes into their diet, that their pain is greatly reduced and they can get up from a chair without creaking. And yeah, so seeing the results so quickly is what's so motivating.
It is. I love that. And, to me, juicing is what I would consider health care. Not what healthcare is. That's more like sick care, in my opinion, because you're just trying to take care of symptoms at that point.
Right.
And the reason why I'm bringing that up is because I know a lot of people like, but fruits and vegetables are so expensive. But what are your
healthcare is expensive.
Exactly.
Medical treatments can be expensive. I don't know about you, but I don't want a future in my 70s and 80s or 60s even, full of doctor's visits and pharmacy prescription refills and procedures. And so I feel like investing in my health now is really important. And, here in the United States, we spend less of our income on food than many other countries in the world. And I know food costs are an important part of our budget, and they do have to be kept into account. And there's ways to manage that. For instance, just buying the Dirty Dozen as organic. When cucumbers get too expensive, organic ones during the winter, I buy conventional and peel them. I still buy organic greens, but there's ways to, I bought a Costco membership. I can get 6 heads of romaine for like $3.50. Those make good juicing ingredients. So if you shop around and find local growers in your area during the season that you can buy from, farmers markets, or just farms down the road, or if you have a yard, I grow my own greens during the summer. I like to be able to go to the back and just cut them and bring them in and juice them. So there's lots of ways to cut the cost of juicing down to something that's manageable.
Well, I know something for me too is when I first started juicing, that was my complaint, was the cost. But then I realized the benefits, and all of a sudden, it didn't matter how much it cost because I felt so much better. And you don't have to go from 0 to 60. Like you say, you can just start off with one juice in the morning, see how that works, and go from there.
And if you look at how much you're spending on other things, people spend $5, $6 at Starbucks and coffee shops every day sometimes, and don't even bat an eye at it. So a lot of times there's things we're spending money on that we've just gotten used to spending the money on that could be repurposed to something that'll really improve our health.
Love that. Also, question about how long does the juice last? Because I know people are going to say, well, can I do a big batch of it?
Yes, and I often see people trying to make a big batch of juice to last 5 days, and that is not safe. So a lot of it depends on your juicing machine. If you have a centrifugal juicer, the kind that spins really fast, it's very popular, they're inexpensive juicers, that's what I started out with. Those juicers whip air into the juice, and so that speeds oxidation. Like when you cut open an apple and 2 hours later it's brown, that's what's happening to the juice. So to get the most nutrition out of it, you really should drink it immediately. Or if you can't, filling your juice jar to the rim to eliminate the oxygen, capping it, put it in the coldest part of your refrigerator, and try to drink it within 12 hours. Like juice at night, drink it in the morning if that's what works for your lifestyle, or whatever you need to do. If you can't, squeeze that juicing session in the morning. Where possible, I recommend that people get a slow juicer, either a single auger juicer or a twin gear juicer. These just slowly, squash and press the fruits and vegetables to get the liquid out. And because they're not introducing oxygen, these juices can last 24 to 48 hours or so, stored properly. There's also like the Green Star the TriBest Green Star Pro has infrared technology and magnets, and
Wow.
that helps restructure the juice. And that I've got one of those juicers too, and that juice can last 3 days with minimal nutrition loss. So when you go to a juice bar and they're using a true cold press machine, there's usually 3 days that they're getting on that juice. And so also adding lemon juice or lime juice, some acidity to the juice will also help keep it more shelf stable. Things like carrot juices are going to go bad more quickly than a green juice with a lot of lemon in it. So those are some tips on storage and how to get the most nutrition out of your juice.
I love that you were able to get rid of the excuse of not juicing in the morning by doing it at night. As long as you drink it first thing. So
yeah, and if
that
you have to, fresh is best. If you have to, you can freeze juice. Leave a 1/2 inch to 1 inch of room at the top of your jar for expansion, otherwise it'll crack. And then thaw it in the refrigerator. So if that's the only way you're going to get the juice in, then, if you're going to make juice for a couple of days, what can't be drunk immediately, put in the freezer and then pull out as you need it.
I'm assuming that way actually loses nutrients as well then. Is it because you're not drinking it right away, or does it have something to do with the freezing process? Or
You lose some of the photons, but the studies that they've done on frozen produce show that most of the vitamins and minerals are there, even the enzymes are there. So there's really very little nutrition loss in frozen juice. So it's
I love how you're taking away all of my reasons not to. I
yeah,
love that.
it's really, a lot of it is about mindset, and
It's,
you know
everything is. And I know that you and I talked about this privately, but when you make healthier choices with your diet and what you put into your body, it's so much easier to make better choices and be happy. So, there's a direct correlation to wellness and joy.
there is, and they've done studies on it. When people are going through stress, things are uncertain, there's a tendency to eat for pleasure and comfort. And a lot of times those aren't the healthiest foods, or to drink more alcohol. But they've really found a correlation between the amount of fruits and vegetables we consume and our overall life satisfaction and happiness. They did a study in Great Britain in 2013 that showed around 10 servings or 7 to 8 servings of vegetables is where they started to see the shifts a day. And then there were other studies that were done to show that it wasn't just a result of being happier that they were eating more fruits and vegetables. It really was because of the fruit and vegetable intake. So by increasing that in our diet, we really can influence how we think, how we feel during the day.
Yeah, no kidding. I mean, I always think of it as garbage in, garbage out. So if you want to have high quality life, you need to put quality food into that operating system that you're living in.
Right. Yeah, and your body knows just what to do with it. Plant foods contain protein. They contain all the essential amino acids that we need to get from our diet. Every single piece of produce has everything we need in varying amounts. And if you're eating lots of fruits and vegetables, focusing on the plants, then you're going to get the nutrition that you need in the amounts that you need it.
Why not give it a try? For somebody who wants to give it a go, and I mean, I'm a personal trainer as well, but I always say if they're going to try something, try it for 30 days. What would be your suggestion to really give juicing the full effect of, so somebody can really see what a difference it's going to make for them?
30 days is a good number to start with. When I work with my private clients, we work for 6 weeks, and we start out establishing that daily juice habit, cleaning up their diet, removing a lot of the unhealthy foods. And around week 3, I walk them through a juice fast to the degree that they are comfortable doing. So it can be 100% juice fast, or it can be a modified juice fast that includes raw foods or maybe even some cooked foods, and to really experience that cleanse. And then transition back out into a proper diet and help them, get back up in their insoluble fiber intake in the right way so that they can feel good coming out of a juice cleanse. And so after about after just the first week or two, usually they're feeling the benefits so much they want to continue. And it can take a while to establish a habit. It can take longer than 30 days. So my biggest suggestion is to hook that, just devoting the time to making the juice and connecting it to something that you're going to do, that you have to do. For instance, if you're going to cook dinner or prepare something, making yourself do the juice first so that you get it done.
That's definitely a good way to build habits, is habit stacking, as they call it. I love that, because then for me, right now I have a shoulder injury and I have issues remembering to ice it until, of course, it hurts even worse. But the point is I added it to something else I already do. So now all of a sudden I remember every day because it's not just random. So
Right.
I love that. What else little health tips and things might you want to share with the audience? Because I know that even though juicing's your specialty, you have way more knowledge than that.
Well, I do advocate a whole food plant-based lifestyle with juicing. This is a nutrient-dense lifestyle. A lot of people don't realize the damage that dairy and animal products can contribute to their health. Just eliminating dairy alone can eliminate allergies, constipation, digestive complaints, a lot of issues there. Dairy is also the #1 contributor to breast cancer. It's really not healthy.
Yeah, that
So,
actually makes sense to me because anyway, yeah, that makes sense. I didn't know that, but that does make sense to me considering what it's for.
yeah, it's for baby cows. There are so many dairy alternatives on the market now. Soy milk is my favorite. For a while there was some concern that it might cause cancer, but that was a mouse study that turned out to not be reality. Soy, all those studies actually show that soy is cancer protective. It can actually reduce your risk of cancer for men and women. It can also reduce the risk of cancer recurrence. So, and I'm talking about whole soy foods, and including soy milk, like tofu and tempeh and those sorts of things, not soy protein isolate, which you find in packaged processed foods. So yeah, eliminating dairy is good. Animal protein comes with a lot of saturated fat and cholesterol. Chicken breasts are not low fat. I think they're about 30% fat. I'm trying to remember my numbers here, but yeah, just trying to switch out, a lot of the animal products with beans and whole grains and lentils. These are foods that are proven to help you stay fuller longer, balance your blood sugar even at future meals when you're not even eating beans. They have that second meal effect. Some of the healthiest cultures around the world, eat beans and rice and love it. I eat a lot of that.
Me too. So I already know my answer for this, and so I want to hear it from you too, is as somebody who works, or I don't anymore, but because of COVID, but in the fitness industry, everybody's always talking about protein, and how, you need so much protein to build muscle and all this. And how can you do that if you're eating a plant-based diet? Well, there's plenty of plant-based diet athletes out there and that are plenty strong enough.
Right.
So I know that there's a lot of myths behind protein as well. So I would love to hear your thoughts about that.
Yeah, well, as I mentioned earlier, and as you have mentioned, plants contain all the essential amino acids that we need to consume from our diet, and we don't have to combine them in certain ways. You used to think that you had to eat beans and rice together for complementary proteins. It turns out our bodies are smart. It knows how to recycle amino acids and combine them together with what you've just eaten. It can store them. It can, take those amino acids and put them together in whatever way you need for whatever part of your body that it's needed in. So we don't really have to stress about that. Eating a wide variety of lentils, beans, grains, whole grains, vegetables, nuts and seeds, dark leafy greens. Dark leafy greens contain a lot of protein. I made a smoothie the other day and it didn't have any protein powder in it. I was surprised at the amount of protein that was in it. I had put in raw cacao, which is delicious, which is cold processed like cocoa powder. And that had 4 grams of protein. And then the hemp seeds I put in had protein, and the soy milk had protein. I'm like, I didn't even need the protein powder. So yeah, you can get plenty of protein even if you're trying to build muscle with a plant-based diet.
I love that.
And it comes without the inflammation. So your recovery is faster.
Exactly. I love that. And, ultimately, we need to listen to our bodies, because what's good for one person isn't necessarily what's good for another. I mean, as far as quantities of this and that or whatever.
Ratios, yeah.
Yeah, ratios. However, anything's better than this sad American diet. So, the more processed food you eat, the harder it is for your body to understand and digest. I mean, I'm a huge fan of the term food-like substance, because it looks like food, it might taste like food, but is it really?
Yeah, so much of the nutrition has been stripped out of it in the processing part, and then they add some vitamins back in. But when a piece of whole fruit or a vegetable, the whole food, all of those phytonutrients and vitamins and minerals working together synergistically are greater than the individual constituent. That's why when they're trying to see if vitamin A in some food is what creates this health benefit, when they do the study on just vitamin A, they don't see the benefit that they saw with the whole food. And of course, that's where the money is. They've got to extract something so that they can make some kind of supplement or drug to be effective. So yeah, if we just eat the whole food, and if people aren't ready to go 100% plant-based, I totally understand that. I wasn't either a long time ago. I started by going vegetarian, and then I eliminated the dairy and the eggs and adopted a whole food plant-based diet, and including the juicing. And it was a gradual process, and I learned new cooking methods, new techniques. I learned the new recipes that I enjoyed, and it was fun. It tasted good. I enjoy, the way I eat. And when you get enough distance from oils and animal foods, I had been 6 months since I'd had a burger. I decided, I'm gonna just see if I want a bison burger. It's lean meat. Well, it tasted like an oil slick. I didn't even want it anymore. So once you've got to believe that your preferences and your taste buds can change. And then if you educate yourself, read, watch the movie Forks Over Knives, read the book How Not to Die and How Not to Diet by Dr. Greger. Some other books, Eat for Life by Dr. Joel Fuhrman. All of those books can give you a good primer on why animal foods are not the best source of protein and why plant foods are so beneficial. And so once you understand the mechanisms and how your body works and trust that your preferences can change, then change becomes a lot easier.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you bringing knowledge to the audience today, especially about juicing, because it's one of my personal favorites. So yeah. It's been a pleasure. Is there anything else you'd love to share before we talk about your gift?
I just want to encourage people that, they have way more control over their health and happiness than they might think. We don't have to be doomed by our genes. Our gene expression is influenced by the environment, and that is what we eat. And juicing can be a delicious and fun springboard to a healthier, happier life. When we're starting our day with a juice, it just sets the tone for the rest of the day. Your body can tell you've had better nutrition. Some of the cravings go away. and you make better choices for the rest of the day. So I would encourage you to, you know, if cost is an issue, look on Facebook Marketplace or OfferUp or Craigslist, find a used juicer, ask a friend or relative. They may have one sitting in the back of their cabinet. They would be happy to loan you so that you can give juicing a try. And then once you're invested, you can, you know, buy your own juicer or a newer juicer. But yeah, I would just suggest getting started.
That. Thank you so much. So that brought me to our final point we want to talk about is you have a gift for the audience.
Yes, so to help you get started with juicing, you can download my free Tasty Green Juice Recipes PDF. It's got several green juice recipes in the right ratios so that it tastes good and you'll enjoy your green juice. And yeah, those are some of my favorite green juices. So I hope the audience enjoys those as well.
Well, thank you so much, Stephanie. Once again, I appreciate your time and I appreciate your knowledge, and hopefully we'll get some more people out there juicing.
Well, thank you very much for having me. This has been fun.
It has been. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.